Let us learn to dream, and then we may perhaps find the truth. By F.A. Kuehl. Welcome to Hands-On Tarot, where I show you the many ways in which you can use tarot for more than just divination and help you grow your tarot practice. I'm Susie Gourlay, and I've been using tarot for many years to create my future rather than just predict it. Today we're going to be exploring dream interpretation with the tarot. Now this is a topic that is very deep. It's definitely something that I could talk about for a long time. I know when we did this topic in the tarot circle, it was over a few months because we really couldn't cover it all in the time that we had. But I do want to talk about it with you because it is an important aspect of tarot. So tarot and dreams are both excellent tools for strengthening one's intuition, and both unlock the door to hidden realms of insight, meaning, and self-discovery in the unconscious. Since our unconscious can speak to us through dreams and tarot, we can use one to strengthen our relationship with the other. Using tarot images and dream symbols together seems to open a dialogue between the conscious and subconscious mind that's normally closed, creating a very powerful synergy. Dreams often alert us to our problems and often let us know how we really feel about something and guide us towards integration. While there are plenty of dream dictionaries out there, this is just one thing that needs to be taken into consideration when working on understanding with our dreams. So we look at the symbolism that we find within dream dictionaries, but a lot of times it's more important to what those symbols really mean to us. Dreams and dream work have been studied throughout human history and in all cultures. We've fallen a bit away from this in more modern times, but when you think about how much of our lives are spent in dreamland, and this is around 26 years, we might as well make use of this time to help us in our waking lives. Dream incubation can also be looking at when we often say, we'll sleep on it. Evidence suggests that most dream activity occurs in the final hours of sleep during REM, or rapid eye movement. When a scientist looks at a dreamer's brain activity, it looks very similar to our brain activity when we're actually awake. It's like one brain, but two totally different worlds. And I know there's people out there that say they don't dream, but they really do. They just don't remember them. And especially with that two different worlds aspect, I am someone who has sleep apnea. And for years before we discovered that, I'd spend weekends sleeping the entire weekend. I was actually asleep more than I was awake, and I really did feel like I had two different lives. My dream life and then my waking life. So I definitely get that point. So why do we dream? There's many different theories on this. You can choose the one that makes sense to you, but I did want to cover a couple different people's theories. So Freud says dreams as the road to the unconscious mind, and this is why we dream. Carl Jung says that we dream because of the archetypes and the collective unconscious we all have. Hall suggests that dreams are a cognitive process, and that's why we dream. Domhoff says we dream because they are a reflection of our waking life. And some people might just say it's just a brain's response to a random simulation. You know, it's like the screensaver. That's kind of a 90s term, but it's like the screensaver of our brain while we're sleeping. So I do want to talk about different types of dreams. There are lucid dreams, which occur when a person is asleep, but aware that they're dreaming. So in this state, a person can take control of their dream's narrative to some degree. I am one who's very interested in lucid dreaming, and I do in one case remember being lucid in a dream and knowing I was dreaming, and the only thing that I did is I tried to do a backflip, which of course I cannot do in real life, so I did that in the dream, and that kind of excitement woke me up. So That's what I remember in my one lucid dream that I can recall. There are mental dreams. So generally, these reflect the processing of actual experiences of the day, the thoughts and feelings we have in response to these events. And so they kind of function like a daily data download, routing and processing information before it's stored and sorted into our memories. So you might find you have these dreams quite often. You dream about what happened, that day or that week or something that's been on your mind. There are physical dreams, so these often address health issues or imbalances which reveal themselves in dream symbols. Health or medical dreams can function as early warning systems if recognized for what they are. Death dreams sometimes appear as health warnings, which are intended to frighten us into paying attention. I don't know if I believe that so much. I know I've had dreams where I've died and they were just dreams where, a series of events was being played out that really doesn't fit into my daily life. It's not that exciting. But some people might find that they do have those physical dreams that really do manifest physically. There's also spiritual dreams. These are sometimes called big dreams. Spiritual dreams are believed to be messages from our soul and our conscious mind, or from our soul to our conscious mind. And the big dream deals with spiritual guidance, contact with our higher selves, and with the intent of gaining knowledge and power. So you might have dreams of a loved one who have passed away. Quite often, if I'm feeling stressed, I have dreams that include cats of mine that have passed away that mean a lot to me. So I know that they're kind of watching over me. So you might have dreams like this. Or, dreams where, someone who you're thinking of and you haven't seen in a while, you dream of them and then suddenly you see them for a reason. And then there's prophetic dreams, which are very uncommon, but they do happen, and these are dreams that come true. We also want to talk about how biases affect dream interpretation. So while reading online, researchers Carrie Morwedge and Michael Norton have studied the dreams over 1,000 individuals from the United States, India, and South Korea. And what they discovered is that the weight and importance people attach to their dreams depends largely on their biases. So people are more likely to remember negative dreams if they involve people that they already dislike. And they're also more likely to take positive dreams seriously if they involve friends or loved ones. And I'll give the reference to that as well in the show notes. So in other words, people are motivated to interpret their dreams in ways that support their already existing beliefs about themselves, the world, and the people around them. The researchers found that such things as the confirmation bias and the self-serving bias can impact how people respond to their own dreams. Because people tend to take their dreams seriously, the researchers suggested that these dreams can also become something of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you dream that you're going to fail an exam, you might be less motivated to study or even become stressed out that you perform poorly. And then you blame it on your dreams, which in reality is because you didn't study. So looking at symbols as a universal language. This is also an entire topic of study within the tarot. So I'm just going to kind of briefly talk about symbols because they are an important part of dream interpretation. Symbol means throwing together or merging the divine realm with the material, kind of like as above, so below. The reason tarot works so well is because the images themselves, which include universal archetypes and symbols, we recognize. Our conscious mind uses words, whereas in order to access our subconscious, we rely on visualization, images, and symbols. The tarot is made up of archetypes, which are qualities and experiences that are common to us all. For example, happiness, anger, love, truth, etc. The major arcana represents archetypes that manifest in daily life. So we've seen You know, the mother archetype, the father archetype, the you know, the fear archetype with the devil, the hopes within the star, that sort of thing. It's through symbols that we are able to recall the ancient archetypes that are common to humankind. So, as I'd mentioned with Carl Jung, he is a Swiss psychoanalyst. He says that we resonate with these symbols because they are carried with us in our collective unconscious, which means shared by all of us as humans. Symbols are universal motifs which appear in all civilizations since the dawn of humankind. Symbols take us into the unknown depths of ourselves. I had just finished reading a book called First Signs, and it talks about using specific symbols in cave art, and this is really early on in human existence, like super early. This is before people even painted, you know, representations of deer and that sort of stuff. I'm talking about dots and lines and spirals. It was quite an interesting book to learn about those symbols and what they meant to early humans. Symbols take us into the unknown depths of ourselves. So tarot images combine number significance, themes, astrological energy, and more. When we read the cards, we are translating everything before us in the story that it's telling, in which it creates many layers of meaning. It's also important to think about what these symbols and meanings mean to you. So I did mention that at the beginning. You know, spiders might be something that you really enjoy, and they represent, you know, being creative, adapting to change, network, all that kind of stuff. Where to someone like me, spiders just might represent fear. So when looking at symbols, it's important to know with what they mean to you, because a dream dictionary, of course, will tell you what they think. So keeping that in mind. Exploring symbols will help you go deeper into your subconscious mind. And it's also important to remember that archetypes carry both the strengths and the weaknesses in their qualities. So the reason that tarot works so well is because of it using symbols, we are able to bypass that conscious mind and go straight into that subconscious. So dreams work much the same way. So when looking at recurring dreams, these are dreams often linked to an event that created a deep impact or some sort of trauma. I remember my sister had a recurring dream about somebody getting hurt on a property that we used to go swimming at. So it might have been something that she had seen as a young child, and it kept coming back to her. They often hold a lot of meaning in regards to healing messages. And you may find common themes come up in these dreams, or a variation of the same dream happens over and over until the issue is resolved in real life. And you see this in movies and on TV as well. This is common when people are repressing how they really feel or are having conflict and stress in their relationships or their workplace. I found when I was off after my back surgery that I often had dreams about work. And it was because a new coworker was starting and they were going to be using my workspace while I was away. And I found that really stressful, apparently, because I dreamt about it constantly. So lucid dreaming, again, we'll touch on that a little bit more here. So it's the ability to know that you're dreaming while you're dreaming. You can use your cards as a form of guided imagery. So picking cards with intention. Dreams use all 5 senses to create images and experiences that are personal to us. Lucid dreams can be used for healing because your body can't differentiate between a thought and a real life event. So this has been happening for many civilizations. This may sound really far-fetched, but it is a very practical practice, almost like hypnosis. So dreams tap into the power of our subconscious and make ourselves whole again. Seek out an animal, being, or human to do the healing for you. This can be done with intention. So when you're lucid dreaming about looking for something that you've lost, you could go to a place, a house, and fill your mind, with all the places that you have been, and you can actually look through these places in your dream. If you have trauma, over an incident that happened, you can revisit that time where you may not be able to do that in, waking life. So you can ask yourself, did this dream contain advice when you wake up? So look for dream characters who may be symbols of your emotional difficulties or repressed experiences. So for example, sad people or injured people, children in your dream, you can look for that. Sometimes you may not be able to see faces, but you just have this inner knowing. Sometimes you may be really angry when you dream about a particular person, which is also telling you a lot about how you really feel about that person. So there's some cards to remind you to focus on your dreams when they do come up within a spread or a reading. And sometimes I'll remember these cards when I see them. And a lot of these came from the Muses of Tarot. So this is a really, really awesome deck made by Ethany Dawn. It's one that I use in every reading I do, to be quite honest, because each muse has a particular specialty. And I have all the muses here. I made, I made little rocks with them, and they're stickers that I got. To kind of as a focus when doing work. But there is one muse in particular that I call upon every time I do a reading or have a set of readings within this set. I don't have it in my deck because I do have it separate and keep it with my working decks that I use, but Chrysella is the one that I use very, very often. So there are muses for each aspect. So for example, if you're looking for some inspiration, you could focus on sparks. There's healing, so holistic, where is she? Holistics is a really great muse to focus on for readings that involve healing. Epiphany is one that you can focus on if you're looking for problem solving. Adoria, a muse that you can call on for love readings. There's mediumship readings. There's a lot in this deck. 13 different muses. So this deck really is very creative. So the one that I'm going to focus on with this when talking about cards to remind you of your dreams is Divinia. So this is a muse that she uses specifically for, is it Divinia that I'm looking for here? I believe so. So Divinia is the muse of prophecy tarot readings. So this is her card. So when I use the muses, I can use their card specifically to kind of act as an intention for my reading. There is a tarot invocation for each muse and releasing them as well. And there's also a little altar setup card for each of the muses, and this would be Divina's, I should say, altar card. They also are associated with a different chakra, and those cards come with it as well. But within this book, Divina is associated with specific cards when talking about prophecy, and a lot of these are the cards that come up when they come up in a spread at focusing on your dreams. So one of them that you might see is the High Priestess. So the High Priestess is connected to the waters of the subconscious, imagination, intuition, the realm of dreams. And when the High Priestess comes up in a reading, it's telling you to pay attention to your inner knowing. The Moon is a card of deep emotion being brought to the surface. So when you're seeing the moon come up quite a bit in your spread, maybe focus on your dreams to see why. What is a fear that might be coming up? What is an emotion that you are trying to repress? You can look at these sort of aspects within your dream work. The Queen of Cups. So for me, she's the mystic. So trusting your intuitive abilities, really focusing on, trusting what you're seeing, believing your intuition, and giving yourself that credit when something comes to your mind and you knowing the reason why. So being very intuitive. Pages in readings, because pages are often messengers and cards of potential. So oftentimes when a page comes up, it might be somebody telling you, that you have something to learn. It could also be saying that the environment that is playing out is a good environment for whatever, depending on the suit. So for example, if the Page of Cups came up, the environment that you're in is a good environment for keeping an open mind, staying curious, being creative, adapting to change, learning to look at things with more emotion perhaps, and from an area of a bit more empathy. The Star is a card about receiving divine guidance and messages of hope. So if you see the star come up in a reading, you might want to pay attention to your dreams as well. The Three of Wands for future planning and visions. The Nine of Swords as kind of that nightmare aspect of dreams, so not all dreams are positive. And the Four of Swords, allowing yourself to sleep and rest and pay attention. So these are some cards to pay attention to when they're coming up quite a bit within your spreads, in your readings. Keeping a dream journal is another thing that you can do. This isn't something that I have done because a lot of times when I wake up, I'm really busy and I have to get moving. But keeping a dream journal is definitely helpful when you're connecting dreams to your tarot and your symbolism to see, of course, which patterns keep coming up, which symbols keep coming up, and being able to look back at past dreams and see if these events are happening over and over again. So to keep a dream journal, do it first thing in the morning. So before you start with your daily tasks and your dream just kind of slips away, keep a dream journal at hand and try to do it as soon as you wake up, or even if it's in the middle of the night. Write with as much detail as you can. So even if you're just recording fragments, whatever you can remember will help you in the long run. And it'll help you to pay attention while you're dreaming and improve memory. If you don't have the words, you can draw pictures as well. I've seen online some people say, I saw this symbol in a dream, what does it mean? So write in the present tense, describing your dream world in the present tense as if it's happening again in real time. It may help you resurrect details and follow the actions more clearly. Trying to capture emotions and not just plot points. So get in the habit of noting how your dream self, how you felt in any given situation. Were you apprehensive inside this dream? Were you mad? Was it a familiar setting? Was there an aspect about that dream that was thrilling? Did it terrify you? I know there's been times where I'm having dreams and I know something scary is about to happen and I try to wake myself up. So write that stuff down, because when they're really involving your emotions, these are really important aspects. Compare your dreams to waking life. So when you write down what your dream was about the next morning, you can look back on the previous day's events for clues as to why certain elements may have shown up in your dream. So we had mentioned this with the mental dreams that we had talked about a little bit earlier, basically going over your previous day. Conversely, you can also look at your dream to see how it might have influenced what you thought and felt for the rest of your current day. Sometimes this is in a bad way. If you had a dream a friend of yours was, mistreated you or did something awful to you in your dream, you might be mad at them the next day. So don't do that. Track your sleep cycles. So if you're dreaming most deeply while you are dreaming most deeply during your REM cycle, for about 2 hours at a time. So understanding how long it takes you to cycle through different stages of your sleep patterns may allow you to record dreams immediately after waking, when our brain has returned to a semi-altered state. So the benefits of keeping a dream journal is you will start to see patterns emerging, just like in tarot. You can look for elements that are consistent across your dreams. So are you always in the same place? So when you think about home, is it the home that you currently live in? Is it a home that you lived in as a child? Are you unfamiliar with it? That sort of thing. Are you always in a certain place or a certain time? Is there a certain person always there with you, or are you alone? Are you the damsel in distress, or are you the hero? You can look at that too. Is there a particular plant, animal, or other object that always shows up? Are you or anyone else in the dream always feeling a certain way? So if you keep dreaming of the same thing over and over, it may point to issues in the waking world that you're trying to deal with, but perhaps aren't able to, or you've been reluctant to confront. So the benefits of keeping a dream journal will help you with your lucid dreaming. It will help you better understand your emotions and thoughts, and it can also help you overcome creative blocks as well. So tips when doing dream interpretation with your tarot is to create your own personal dream glossary, or a deck specifically of dreams, or creating your own deck of dreams. You can definitely use more than one tarot deck. So you can use Oracle and Tarot together. You can use a couple different decks. So I have, a really great one, this Tarot Disassembled, which I'm going to show you next, is all about symbols. So that's a really great one that you could use, especially for dream interpretation. You could also study a card before bed and then place it under your pillow. You can use emotional stacks, which we've talked about before, where you specifically pull out cards describing a feeling that you're having, so that you can focus on that to work through in your dream. Or you can consult a dream dictionary, of course, but remember what the symbolism and association means to you is what's most important. So I'm just going to clear away my muses for a minute here. I am going to do a quick dream interpretation tarot spread, also made by Ethany, who made the Tarot Muse deck. And we are going to use the Pamela Coleman Smith's Rider-Waite playing cards. I thought they'd be kind of fun to use, since this is normally... The Rider-Waite Smith deck is quite good with tarot symbolism, so I specifically chose this deck today. So this is a 6-card spread, 3 cards along the top, 3 cards along the bottom. And the card prompts are the reason, the meaning, the guide, the mind, the message, and the call. So card number 1, I guess I should think about a dream that I've had recently. Quite often I'll have a dream where I am trying to get through a shopping mall because I am really busy, but then things still kind of catch my eye. I know I had a dream once where I was in a crystal shop and I was looking for a specific crystal, but of course I couldn't get to it and it cost a lot of money. So I often have dreams that are involved in shopping and not being able to get what I want. So let's have a look at what that might mean for me. So the reason, so card number 1, why you had the dream in the first place. If you weren't sure what type of dream you had, look for clues within the symbols of the cards. But let's see why I might have a reason of not being able to obtain something that brings me joy. So I have the Eight of Wands here for card number 1. So the reason I had this dream in the first place is probably because, well, for sure I have a fear of missing out. And quite often, if there's something that I'm interested in, I feel if I don't get it right away, it'll be gone forever, and I have missed out on that. So I can see this being the reason I might be having stress dreams of shopping, which seems really shallow. So card number 2, the meaning. So what's the personal meaning of this dream? And here I have the Queen of Pentacles, and to me, she is the healer. So I am having this dream because I actually need to be more practical and rational in my thinking. I need to be a lot more grounded. I need to know that I do have abundance around me. Things don't create abundance. Definitely money is a concept with the Queen of Pentacles coming up here as well. And to realize that, you know, sometimes having something isn't everything. And actually that's one of the reasons why I do love creating decks with the Patchwork Tarot or the Magpie decks, is because I can have access to different cards from decks that I love that may not be attainable. Like the Earth, Flesh, and Bonestone Tarot and the deck from Penny Dreadful. You know, I do have cards from those decks. So, you know, being rational and practical, knowing I don't need, you know, all this stuff to have abundance, I can create little bits of it too. So that is a practical look at, you know, attaining certain things like that. And this sounds like a really stupid dream as I'm going on, but anyway. So number 3. Card number 3 is the guide. Is there a message from a spirit guide, ancestor, or higher self that was being delivered to you through this dream? And I have the Six of Wands here. So I don't think this is representing perhaps a spirit guide, but it could represent the reason possibly why in my mind it is a stressful dream is because you know, I like to be able to have certain things to use for knowledge, and being able to share that knowledge with others, which is pretty much why I do this podcast. Not so I can show you, you know, for example, how many tarot decks I have, but how they work really well for specific podcast topics, like this Tarot Disassembled to use specifically for symbolism, for example. And finding, you know, inspiration that way, and being able to work with decks or books, you know, things that I'd like to obtain, mostly because I'd like to learn more from them and then be able to help others learn from them as well. So card number 4, the mind. What energies, messages, and themes are at play from your subconscious mind? And I obviously did not shuffle this deck very well, but we have the Five of Wands here, but it does fit. So what energies, messages, and themes? So definitely conflict and chaos. Definitely me not being able to obtain something that I do want to get. So 5s indicate challenge, and then we see the wands there again and feeling like I have to have something right away. And perhaps in times where I'm feeling very impulsive, you know, if there's only so many decks available, I feel I have to get it right away so I'm not in competition with other people. So I can see this card playing out really well with what is emerging in my mind and the reason that stress is coming up. Because I want to be one of the people who, you know, is able to obtain something that I don't have yet. It sounds really maximalist now as I'm going through it. It sounds like a really bad example, but we'll keep going with it. Card number 5, the message. Is there a specific message the dream is trying to tell you or a lesson that it is helping you learn? Okay, I really didn't shuffle this because now I'm getting the 4 of Wands. So let me give this another little shuffle here. And I have the Knight of Pentacles come up. So, is there a specific message this dream is trying to tell you, or a lesson it is helping you learn? And I had the Queen of Pentacles come up as my meaning, and now the message, I have the Knight of Pentacles. So for me, that's really solidifying that need to be a lot more rational and practical in my thinking. To know that there is a goal in mind, that I don't have to do everything all at once. I can take things much slower. The Knight of Pentacles is the archetype of the soldier for me. So, you know, I'm still doing what I need to. I'm still learning. I'm still able to, you know, express things in a way with what I have. And I don't have to feel like I am the general. I can just be, you know, a lieutenant within the army and still make a big difference. So I don't have to be number one. So I think the Knight of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles really connect there as well. Again, they each are only holding one pentacle. They're not surrounded by a million pentacles. And finally, the Call. Card number 6, what is, if any, the call to action or real life application of the dream you had? Is there something you can avoid a pitfall, or is there something you can do to avoid a pitfall or to make a decision that's more favorable? Maybe your dream was a divinely sent shortcut for you to be able, or that you're being asked to listen to. So my final card here is the Ace of Swords. So I believe after flipping all of these cards and doing this dream interpretation spread, what I'm being told is to have clarity of mind, to know that there is opportunity coming my way, where I can use my thinking and my communication to get my point across without having the stuff specifically to show. And really, in actuality, this podcast is online on YouTube as well. But the majority of people are really listening to this podcast, so they're not seeing the cards that I'm using anyway. So I could really be using the same deck over and over again, and I can still get the same point across. I think that's what the Ace of Swords coming up for me in this particular example is really telling me. Using my clarity of mind, using, you know, verbiage and words that make sense, which is not something I'm very good at. As you probably know, if you've listened to this podcast for a while, I do have trouble using the right words. But, you know, using my communication and my thinking and then getting that message out. So I will share this spread on the page as well, and I hope that you find that useful, because when you're Googling tarot spreads for dream interpretation, sometimes they can get a little wacky. But I did find a few that I will share and I will link within the show notes as well. But before I let you go, I do want to show you this tarot disassembled deck. So I got this deck when the Kickstarter became available. I thought it was a really wonderful idea of having a deck specifically just with symbols. So for example here, let's find one. Well, we had the Page of Pentacles come up in that last spread that I did. So let's look at the Page of Pentacles card here. We are seeing trees, flowers, mountains, a scarf, one specific pentacle, and looks like a field. So I'm going to turn to that Page of Pentacles in the book here, see what it says. So the keywords here are ambition, manifestation, study, good news, procrastination, immaturity, laziness, and bad news. The elemental associations are earth, as we know with the pentacles. The symbols of the flowers represent hope, new growth, happiness, beauty, and unfolding renewal. The mountains in the Page of Pentacles represent aspiration, courage, perspective, and ascension. The pentacle itself indicates the element of earth, physical or the material realm, which we saw come up twice, money and material possessions, which also makes perfect sense for the example I used for the dream that I shared, and the 5 elements: harmony, protection, nature, and the feminine principle. The field in this card represents preparation, new growth, fertile land, and creative ideas. The scarf that the page is wearing represents expression, adornment, flow, comfort, and warmth. And the trees are a symbol of growth, lushness, potential, sustainability, expansion, ascension, and time. So if you're looking to learn more about the symbolism within tarot, especially what we're used to seeing with traditional Rider-Waite-Smith decks, this is a really great deck to learn those. So you can really see a lot of the specifics that are found within tarot decks. We have the High Priestess here, represented the moon, the pomegranate, the duality with the 2 pillars there, holding either a book or the scroll, the triple goddess aspect of it. Some things that you may not even realize are in certain decks. So, or in certain images. Let's find another one here. So Queen of Wands. So as I'm describing these symbols, you can probably picture that Queen of Wands and where they are within the image in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So the Queen of Wands, of course, will have a wand. Oftentimes we see sunflowers. That black cat at her feet. We'll see flames. You might see the fire elementals of the salamanders. You could see the lion aspect with Leo and the sun, and a crown usually on the queen. There are also pyramids within this image as well. And I'll just pick one more here just for fun. So 5 of Cups. And this card is black to begin with, so we're seeing that color as well quite predominantly, kind of with the negative cards. But we see flowing water, 3 cups that are overturned and 2 that are not, a bridge, often a castle in the background. There might be trees, and I think those are curtains. Let's see. Oh, representing a stage for fantasy, illusion, over dramatization, perspective, and story. And there's a cloak in this as well, which represents the emotions we wear, the spiritual realm, protection, and journey. Actually, one thing that I did within one of my tarot courses is to create my own symbol journal. And the best way that I did this is to take a tarot journal of any kind. I used the Modern Witch Tarot journal. And I went through and pulled out symbols that I look for in those cards to represent their meanings or keywords, whether it represented astrological signs, seasons, feelings, emotions, possibly what swords might mean. Some are overturned, cups, some are not, the winged lion, the healing symbol, ropes, fish, symbols for love, all that sort of stuff. I wrote these out in that symbol journal, and I have that now that I use to study off of. So if you're looking for something to help you with learning your symbolism in tarot, that is a great idea. So tarot disassembled, and now there's a tarot assembled, And I believe that Jennifer Cooper Steidley is also working on a mandala deck based on symbolism as well. So these are really a really great guidebook to help you start with your symbol journey. And I have a whole other schwack of books to help you with dreams and dream interpretation. This Essential Guide to Tarot has some good info in it regarding dreams and interpreting different symbols and different spreads. Tarot at a Crossroads, written by Daniels and Daniels, is a wonderful book creating emotional stacks, as we had talked about, specifically pulling out different symbols and different images to help with dream work. This book has a psychological, it is more psychological, I should say. So using psychology within tarot and symbols. So a lot of Jung, a lot of Freud, that sort of thing. The Key to Tarot by Sarah Bartlett is another one that I received a lot of information from specifically for this episode. Of course, having a good dream dictionary, as I'd mentioned, is a good jumping off point, but keeping in mind also what symbols mean to you. But these dictionaries are created kind of as a universal symbol. What a universal, like a heart usually represents, you know, feelings, love, that sort of thing. So they do help you focus on certain symbols for specific universal feelings and emotions. A good book about lucid dreaming is The Field Guide to Lucid Dreaming by Dylan. Oh boy, I'm gonna really ruin these names. Dylan, Jared, and Thomas, and I will list that in the show notes as well. I felt this was a very practical book that I read through to really help if you want to get more into lucid dreaming. And a couple other books that I had within my library as well is The History of Last Night's Dream, Discovering the Hidden Path to the Soul by Roger Kamenetz, and also The Inner World of Night Dreams. So use your dreams to expand your awareness in waking life to become the best version of yourself. I found this was a really great one to help us in looking at different things within our dreams. So one thing I just flipped by here, you know, what directions represent, what colors represent, meanings for numbers 1 through 20. There's a lot of information in here that will really help you delve a little bit deeper into dreams. And of course, this is a topic that you could spend a career on, but I hope that you did get some sort of insight or helped your mind think about how you might use tarot for your dream interpretation. So thanks for joining me. I hope you found this episode insightful. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at handsontarot@gmail.com. You can visit my website at susiegorlay.com, which is spelled SUSIEGOURLAY, or find me on Instagram at handsontarot or woolly_witch. Thanks for listening. I'm Susie Gorlay, and I see tarot in your future.